Boker Tov Chavrim, I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Looking here at the screen and behind me this morning already, and I'm sure many of you that have woke up this morning already hearing about the news that Robert Mueller's investigation has led to a surprise arrest to Roger Stone in a pre-dawn early raid. And RT, is, of course, one of many agencies is reporting. It just happened to be where I saw it this morning. And interestingly, they said the FBI is not being paid right now thanks to President Trump's government shutdown. And maybe this is why we have a government shutdown. Sometimes you can't help but wonder if there's not more to a government shutdown than meets the eye. But, you know, with all of these agencies coming so close in their investigations, and I know that President Trump has called this a witch hunt. And, you know, I have to admit, for the longest time, I thought that that's pretty much what it was as well, until we had the inside information. In fact, even information that I'm sure that Robert Mueller would probably love to have himself about what is going on long before even President Trump ran for office. It's been very shocking to us to discover some of these things, and we've shared some of that with you, things that are going on. Now, I don't know exactly what they're talking about as far as the collusion. We just have seen money laundering schemes that are going on, investment properties, real estate, to launder money, that certain names have come up in that process. But at any rate, Roger Stone was arrested this morning, and of course I remember when we were invited, Israeli News Live was invited to cover a Trump rally, and it was kind of interesting. Never got to do that before. Roger Stone was the guest speaker, the keynote speaker at that meeting outside of Orlando. And of course, when I met him personally, it was interesting because he makes the very odd statement as he whispers under his breath. He says, "I'm a hardcore Zionist, and so is President Trump." Well, that was a little bit of a shock. I was smiling to start with, but I think after the picture was taken and we got that statement, I didn't want to smile very much anymore, because I'm not too crazy about Zionists, knowing the fact of what's happened to our people by Zionists to begin with. When I say our people, I'm talking about the Jewish people. And I've shared that with you guys many times in the past, even on Patreon. So at any rate, and of course, we'll be back on Patreon as soon as we get back into the studio. We didn't have access to it to load anything while we were gone, so we're a little behind on that. Moving on over to alreadyhappened.com. Our good friend Lorenzo, actually, and it's on his Twitter page. I don't even think he's loaded this on his website as of yet. He is reporting there that a Ro-Ro carrier is unloading in Belgium a massive amount of U.S. military equipment for what is called Resolve. And that's kind of interesting to see, because I thought we already had tons of military equipment in Europe to start with, but actually the name of the ship is called Resolve, and it is unloading there in Belgium today. Moving on over, and some other things that are happening. The Iron Dome has been deployed closer to Tel Aviv, also up in the Golan, and this is kind of old news from just yesterday, actually. There has been some skirmishes across the border. It has been alleged that just coming from Syria thus far by Israel, it's not determined who actually has fired over some rockets from that area. I always keep in mind, too, because we know how things want to be stirred up to justify a war. If they said it come from Lebanon, then I would believe that it is Hezbollah. There would be no question about that, because Hezbollah and Israel are always at each other's throat. And Hezbollah is definitely a danger for Israel. But when it comes from Syria, and I know that Israel, even on the Jerusalem Post, has openly admitted that they have armed a jihadist over there, I'm always a little hesitant to say, well, it was the Syrian government or even the Iranians, for that matter, that fired the missile, because it could be the jihadist, for all we know. You'd need really an independent confirmation on that. And again, Israel, with their right to support defending themselves, I understand that, but I question the methods. And let me tell you why. one reason why I question the methods, because the Israeli intelligence sees the planes that are being loaded with these weapons. And they've mentioned here recently that it's commercial airlines that have been bringing in all these weapons from Iran. But yet they know when they loaded it in Iran and how they transferred over, landed in Damascus, and then went on into Lebanon and landed in Lebanon. If the Israeli military has this type of intelligence, which they do, and I know they do, then the best way to preserve civilian life is, if you're going to take it out because you know that, that this equipment is being transferred, why are they waiting for the plane to get on the ground and unload and then be transferring towards Lebanon if you know this is what's going on? Why not take that plane out over a desert area where there's very little risk to any life whatsoever? You're monitoring it the entire time to start with, and if that is the objective, do it in a way to where you can preserve life in Syria as well, and we don't put Syrian civilians at risk. These are the things that I'm watching, and things that I realize it could be done, and it would not be so suspicious for that matter either. So at any rate, that's my thought on these things here this morning, guys, as we are here in Denver, Colorado. We do have, by the way, for those of you that want to try to come to PF Chang this evening at 3 p.m. meeting, we have about 3 seats still available. 3 or 4, I think it's 3 though. So if you email me, it's StephenBennoun@gmail.com. That's STEVEN, Bennoun, BENNUN, @gmail.com. I'll put that in the description below, and I have already sent confirmations to everyone else that has emailed us already. So just double check your email, make sure you got that. The address, and again, that'll be in the description below, but it is 1415 15th Street, Denver, Colorado, 80202. The phone number is 303-260-7222. Now, it is not, PF Chang does not have a banquet facility, anything like that. They just told us we did a reservation for 20 people. That was as large as they could do. They said it's over in the kind of the back area of the building. And of course, being at 3 p.m., we kind of figure it's less people will be there during that time. And we kind of have to order something from them in order to have that right to be able to sit there. So it'll kind of be stag. Everybody just be on their own on that. And but at any rate, we got room for a few more. So if you can email us by lunchtime today, we need to have, and make sure you send your name. And again, just be first come, first serve. Whoever we get there, we don't really expect more than 20 anyway. But anyway, we'd love to be able to meet you. We're going to have a couple of hours there to spend some time together, and we'll talk more then. Anyway, I'm Steve Bennoun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Thank you for your support for this work. IsraeliNewsLive.org. You can donate there. Also, in the description, we have our address there. Thank you very much, and shalom.